Hi, everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we're bringing you another top 10 list. Whew, that scared me.
In your face.
Top 10.
Top 10s. Yeah, we are continuing our list list, which is a whole bunch of lists. And this is one of them. And we are talking about, this time, deck builders. We also kind of threw in some of like the bag builders.
Yeah.
Or maybe pool builders, they might call them, as they call it on BGG, BoardGameGeek.com. Basically, the way we kind of interpreted deck building or pool building or bag building or whatever is, there needs to be a random element to it. So you're drawing from a bag, pulling out a mystery amount of things. Or an amount, necessarily amount, but what you're drawing is a mystery. Or a deck, and you're pulling things off the top of it, you don't know what you're going to get necessarily. But over the course of the game, you started with a weak set of things, and you're kind of building that up, growing it, cultivating into your strategy, your cards, your chits, your whatever it is that you're going for, making it stronger and stronger and more customized to you, so that way when you do those random events, pulling cards that's off the top of the deck or whatever, they are now better than they used to be, and customized to your strategy.
Yeah.
So that's it.
That's perfect. It's a great explanation. I've always told you guys that Ryan is like great at explaining things. And now you can see what I'm talking about. You guys already see what I'm talking about when he does his how-tos. But anyway, I'm going to start. And I'm going to start my number 10.
I never get to start.
That's okay. That's okay.
Ladies first.
That means you get to finish, though.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So my number 10 is Autumn Harvest. And this is a really, I remember recently talking about this game. It's a really simple, really easy little game. And it's just like friendly feeling, I guess. Right? It just feels happy. But basically in this one, you are choosing to either draw, you don't draw all the cards, you draw a single card, and you get to lay it out there until something tells you to get rid of it. So it's very simple. I think this is a great way to kind of like show people what that could be, and when you buy cards, it goes directly there. It's just a really simple one. You don't have a lot of cards in your deck. It's not like you're beefing up a huge deck or anything like that, but it's just really simple. It's just the one card instead of all of these cards, and I think it's a really like friendly game.
All right, so my number 10 is the opposite of friendly. This is kind of a horror-themed game. This is Nightfall. So in this game, there's all these like werewolves and vampires, all that kinds of things. But a couple things about this game that are really, really neat. The first one is, there's a lot of games of these kinds of games have like curse cards or something like that takes up spots in your deck, or your bag that you're drawing from or whatever. Bad things that you don't want to draw but that happen anyways, other player effects or whatever. In this game there's these wound cards, but the more you have, the worse it is for you, like always. But in this case, within the confines of the game itself, that actually speeds you up as well. Like your adrenaline's pumping or whatever when you draw these wound cards, so you get to get more extra actions and extra things going on. So that was really neat. Another thing about it is it has these chained effects. So every card has like what color it is, and then if you play another card after it links this to the same number, it's like a big green dot with like a small yellow dot after it. That means that this itself is green, but if you play a card after it that's yellow, you get a free basically to place this extra card on top of it. And that yellow card might have a blue dot after it, and then you can play a blue card on top of that. So you have this big chain of cards that you can play as a result of those different chaining effects. And the more you can do, obviously, the more damage you can do, the more cards you can buy, all those kinds of things. So Nightfall, really interesting, a couple cool mechanisms to it, and it's the opposite of friendly.
My number 9 is Kings of SERBIA, and this one is really interesting in two ways. One, when you purchase a card, it goes directly on top of your deck. You don't shuffle it in, it doesn't go into the discard. Also, the deck building aspect of this is just to determine how strong your actions are, right? So there's all these different actions you can take, and you draw cards and you place them by the different actions face down, and then eventually like you flip them up, and that, depending on what you played, if there's any special abilities on it, that determines how strong that particular action is based on the cards you draw. So you're trying to draw these cards that can make certain actions stronger, but you might not want that action to be stronger this round. You want a different action to be stronger this round. So those two things are pretty neat. So you're still building this deck, but it's only like one aspect of the game.
All right, so my number 9, this is the Quacks of Quedlinburg. This is a bag building game. You're buying these chits and putting them into your bag, and then you're drawing them out. And what you're trying to do, you're drawing them out one at a time. There's a push your luck element to it. You're basically trying to not have your cauldron explode. You're building this cauldron full of, I don't know, magical potion type stuff, right? Yeah. And you don't want it to explode. And you kind of patiently like waiting, playing one at a time and seeing if like you explode or not. You can stop at any time. But the more you pull, the more you're able to go around this cauldron, and the more, points you're going to get, as well as purchase power for the, to buy new things to put into your bag. I normally do not like push your luck games. If we did a top 10 list, it would basically consist of this game and 9 of Bethany's, because I don't like it. But in this game, it feels you get a lot more control for one thing. But even when you do what I'll call it bust, and you go over, your potion explodes or whatever, you can still get to do something. You can either choose to take the points or purchase power. Whereas if you don't explode, you get both. So no matter what, it's not like you're just out of it. You still got to do something. So I thought that was a really nice way of... I don't know, catching mechanism is the wrong word, but it wasn't nearly as punishing as a lot of other push your luck games. And I thought that was really fun. Also, it's got tons of replayability. You have a set of tokens, 1, 2, and 3 of reds. But then there's a card that you play that says what those 1, 2, and 3 of reds mean. And then you can flip it over, and there's another version of it. And there's a different red card, and a different red card. So there's what those 1, 2, and 3 reds mean. Each game is going to be vastly different. So you get just tons and tons of replayability. Quacks of Quedlinburg, my number 9.
All right, everybody. My number 8 is Subatomic, and this is exactly what it sounds like. You're building atoms, basically, in this game, and you have to have all parts of an atom in order to build the atom. And so you're drafting that to get more of certain things, so you can blend things together, so you have all aspects of it. And it's
the neutrons, electrons,
exactly.
Protons, all that jazz.
Yeah, and it has to match with what's going on, and so it's really interesting. So, the faces of these, neutrons and stuff, these, little smiley faces.
They're like little emojis almost.
It is. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's just, really endearing, this happy. I think one of them's, not a happy face. Do you remember which one it is?
Is it the neutron, the negative one?
It might be. It's just kind of, grumpy or something. Yeah, it's just really funny. So, you're trying to do these things so you can get these other cards because there's, basically things that you're trying to aspire to do. But it's really, really interesting, really fun, and honestly, I wish I would have had stuff like this in high school.
Right. Genius Games always explains those concepts so well.
Yeah.
All right, so my number 8, another bag builder. This is Orleans. Now, I haven't played a ton of this game. I wish I've played more, but it's another one of those games where you're just trying to build your bag up, and you are trying to pull things out of it. You customize it over the course of the game. It's a kind of a bigger, heavier Euro, but with this kind of added element of this bag building, which those two things seem like they wouldn't match together well. But in this game, it comes together in a really nice package. I was taught by someone who's not a great teacher, so I can't even explain it that well.
Not everybody can be spoiled like me.
Well, I can't even really explain it that well, unfortunately. But the times I have played it, I've been based off of that teaching, so I can't even explain it that well, and I apologize about that. I normally have to have a little more preparation for that, but yeah, it's another bag builder, very interesting with those Euro mechanics. A lot of fun.
So my number 7 is kind of a cheat, and that is just the Cerberus system. So Lord of the Rings deck builder, the Hobbit deck builder. Isn't there a Batman one? And
well, the DC deck builder, which is the biggest one of all of them.
DC deck builder. But basically, all of these games have the same core system behind them. They're all slightly different, but they
Matt Hire made this basically this deck building engine.
Exactly.
That just can kind of put different skins on. Each one has kind of a slightly different twist to it.
Yeah.
But
it's
for every different fandom you can think of, you can find a deck builder in your genre.
So it's called the Cerberus system, and basically the same thing. You start with a deck of cards, and there's cards out in the middle that you're drafting from, and so you're choosing certain cards based on how much you can afford, and it just goes on from there. Usually there's a big bad that you're trying to be able to defeat, and that stack is dwindling down, and when that stack is done, the game is over, and you tally up all your points. Specifically for us, we have the Lord of the Rings versions of this game, all 3 of them, and so we really like that, and it's fun, it's simple. These are also really great ones for people who may not be into gaming but really love their IP, because it's something that I have seen people be able to get into when they're really into their IP but maybe not really into gaming.
There's like a Rick and Morty one. There's
exactly.
There's various animes that have them.
Yes.
There's a ton of them out there. All right, so my number 7, this is Star Realms. This is a very, very, very small tuck box, basically, of cards. It's a 2-player game at its core. You can add additional sets and different things to make it a 4-player game, but it is really, really quickly you're trying to bring someone's health down, well, before your health gets brought down. So you have attack cards that bring health down. You have purchase cards that allow you to buy new stuff. You have damage cards. Did I say that? You have health cards that you can use to, bring yourself back up. And similar to like that Nightfall concept, each card has a faction, and you want to play cards that match up factions because that'll trigger additional abilities. And so if you play 2 red cards, both red cards have their main values, but then additional red values at the bottom that say, if you play with another red card, do some additional thing, like maybe trash a card or draw a card or get extra money or whatever. So super, super simple. However, there's just a million expansions for this game. And they all add new additional mechanisms and new cards and new things. It can get a little bloated, but even still, it's a really, really, really fun. It does take away from the simplicity of just the core game, but if you are already ready for the next step, an expansion is a great way to keep the same system that you already know and just ramp it up.
All right, my number 6 is Quarriors, and this is a dice building game, or bag building game. So you are Quarriors. It's just like everything's like really quirky. I get it. Quirky. Bunch of like keywords everywhere, just all the time. So anyway, you're drafting these dice and then you're rolling them to try and get better stuff. Basically, you're trying to go up on this hero track, and the first person to get to a certain number, depending on how many players there are, is the first one to win. But it's really fun because these dice all have different sides on them, obviously, because it's dice, and some of them are like awesome. Some of them just give you money. Some of them give you a better ability. Some of them are just like really plain. They don't really do anything special, right? And so you're trying to get the best die that you can in order to cultivate this really strong bag. We like to play the variant where you cull, so every single time you use something, you have to get rid of it.
It basically creates like a runaway leader, prevents a runaway leader situation.
It does, because you just don't always have these awesome things that you can use all the time. But this is a game that we really love. We don't get to play it nearly as much as we want to, but it is super fun.
All right, my number 6, this is a Sorcerer City. So this game, it is a tile-laying game, but you're buying new tiles every round, shuffling them into your tiles, and then with a real-time aspect, with a timer, you're laying them out as fast as you can.
This game is just super unique.
Yeah, you're deck building, but it's a deck of tiles, and it's real-time. There's all these negative cards that come out in between rounds, but you have to place them, so you get all these monsters given to you that you have to place when they come up. They're going to maybe destroy some tiles or hurt some resources of yours. There's ultimately 4 resource tracks that you're working with. One is victory points, one's prestige, one's money to buy new tiles with, and then one is magic, which is basically a wild resource that you can choose, where to put that amongst other ones. And every time we play it, everyone who is like, I've never seen anything like this. This is completely unique. I mean, the real-time aspect of it combined with the tile laying, the first round especially is really deceptive, right? You got a 2-minute timer, and there's 5 rounds. So the first time you play the 2 minutes, you're playing out your tiles, you're starting small deck, and you're like, okay, I got a minute left, I'm done. Cool, that wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And then you buy a couple more tiles, and a monster gets added in. So the second round, you're like right up against like that 2-minute mark.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay.
I get it.
And then the third round is like, oh yeah, what's going on? And so it kind of scales you into the game as the game progresses, which is really nice.
I am like awful at this game. I always, not just like don't win, but I'm always in last place routinely. But I still love it. It's so much fun because it's just like, it's that fun stress that I enjoy. There's that stress that some people don't like in their games, but I love that kind of stress in games, but I'm terrible at it. But it's a really good one.
I don't always push deluxe editions, but this deluxe edition had these metal coins.
Yeah.
Stackable. Like stacked and interlocked with each other, which was just so cool. Above and beyond, we can put those coins, that set of coins, with anything. I almost bought an extra set just to like have it be like our coin set that we use for other games, but it's worth the upgrade.
All right, my number 5 is Viscounts of the West Kingdom. And this is kind of like a game I talked about earlier where deck building isn't the full aspect of the game. It's just one aspect of the game. So you're moving around this board, but one of the spots that you can go to allows you to purchase a card. And what's really cool about this one is the cards, they're in this, they're your middle player area, but they get like shuffled off. right? So they're here, and then you move them over, and then you move them over, and eventually they get shuffled off. So you're going to have a card played for X amount of turns. So you're never going to have a huge deck in this game because that's just not how this game is. But you'll always have something in play. So you want to get stuff that kind of works with what you're already going, travel around to trying to get to a place that works for you, that also works for the other stuff that's going on in the board. And that is Viscounts of the West Kingdom.
All right, so my number 5 is Dune Imperium. This game is obviously in the Dune universe. I had played the original Dune, and there's like the reprint from Gale Force 9, and kind of hated it. Like, don't tell me Dune fans. If you're watching, I'm so sorry. I love you, even though I don't like the game. But so I was so scared when I played Dune Imperium that it was going to be the same thing. No. Completely different game, same theming, completely different game. It's a deck builder. But with this deck builder, there is this board where you can go to. It's got a worker placement element to it as well, where you are playing cards that allow you to go to certain areas of the board, get various resources like the money that you can spend, the spice that you use to have better and better actions. There's all these different factions and houses on the side of the board that you can go to. But the cards that you buy kind of tell you where in future rounds you'll be able to go and what kind of actions you can take. So it's really important to kind of balance that out. You want to be able to go everywhere and do everything, but at the same time, some cards are more specified and more, sync up well together and give you additional actions and benefits. There's a bunch of combat in this game, and a lot of the cards help you with combat. So Dune Imperium was a deck builder, and deck building was driving the whole thing, but at the same time, it had worker placement and combat and all these other things. It was just overall just a very big, broad game that I really enjoyed.
All right, everybody, my number 4 is Harry Potter Hogwarts Battle. This is where you're playing different characters in the HP universe, and you're trying to defeat the big bads. I mean, this is the pure, simple deck builder. You are trying to draw, you are trying to beef off your deck, and you are trying to defeat the things that are on the board. This is also a fun game that I'm totally, stealing this from Ryan, but he has been able to play this with our daughter as she's gone through the books, and so in this game, there's kind of an exploration aspect to it, and this
it's like a campaign style thing.
Yeah. So every time, there's books 1 through 7 based on the book series, and so every time she finished a book, he would be like, okay, well, we can add this into the game. So they actually, through the summer and everything, had worked through the entire thing, and she was so frustrated when school started because she was on book, was it 6 that she was stuck on?
She was at the very end of 6, I think, when school started. So
yeah.
And then all of a sudden she had to do more homework and
reading.
Yeah,
she had to do school stuff. And so, but she wanted to be able to play the game with book 6, but Ryan would not allow it, not until you finish it. And so she would get so excited when she finally finished 6 and when she finally finished 7, so she could play the next system, add the more stuff. So that was just really fun. That's a good way to trick your children into reading.
Yeah, this is a full cooperative game, so even though it's just a little bit beyond where she would normally play, she can handle a lot, for an 8-year-old. But this is having it be cooperative means I was able to kind of help her a little bit without telling her what to do. I was still able to kind of coach her a little bit. And now she's ready to go to add the expansion and read all of the screenplays for all of the
Beasts.
Oh yeah, the
Fantastic Beasts.
Fantastic Beasts as well. So pretty cool. Excited about that. All right, so my number 4 is the Quest for El Dorado. This is the first time I played a deck builder where it wasn't just cards, right? There was games like, we talked about the DC deck builder and some other ones that I don't want to talk about quite yet, but they're pure cards. Ascension's another one like that. It was just cards, maybe a couple little tokens or something. This was the first time that there was a board that I played that you are, played a card that allowed you to move around, or played a card that let you interact with the board in some way, and it was mind blown. I thought deck building was just a deck. But seeing it, moving something around, having something tactile to work with, making it a pure board game, which is so unique to me. I just loved this game. It had a race aspect. You're trying to race through this jungle, trying to find the lost city of El Dorado, where all the Fountain of Youth is, I think, right? Something like that. Yeah. This one was a really fun one for me.
Okay, so this is a weird one for us, number 3, because...
Well, don't you just say yours.
Okay, I'll say mine. So my number 3 is Clank. This game is great. So you're going through this dungeon, you're trying to get all these treasures and then come back up alive. But when you're moving through this this dungeon, this castle, this abandoned building thing, you're making noise, and the noise attracts the dragon into coming out. So you're trying to go down. It's a push your luck card drafting game. You're trying to get cards that are going to help you or give you points at the end, and then try to make your way back up as fast as possible. But the good stuff is like at the bottom of the board, and the like not good stuff is at the top of the board, and you have to even go at least halfway in order to score. So you can't just like go down and up. You have to pass the threshold. So all the cards determine where you can move, what you can get, how fast you can move, if you can do special abilities. So you're trying to like get all these cards that will help you with that. But some of the really awesome cards come with Clank, which is the noise. So you can play the super awesome card, but then you're gonna have to add more of your stuff to the bag, and then stuff might get pulled out. The stuff that gets pulled out is the Clank, is the noise. Sometimes the dragon's making noise, sometimes an opponent's making noise, sometimes you're making noise.
All right, so my number 3 takes Clank, which we loved, and made it into a legacy game. This is Clank Legacy Acquisitions Incorporated.
Wonderful.
This game was so much fun. Obviously, we love Clank so much that we decided to buy the Legacy game. We went through the entire campaign, and it was unbelievable. I'm not going to spoil anything, but there was just so much hilarious dialogue and storyline going on.
It might have been one of our favorite gaming experiences.
Yeah, I mean, the board was double-sided, which isn't a spoiler, but you know, there was 2 different maps, basically, that you're kind of going through. Like a lot of those Legacy games, you're adding stickers, you're ripping up cards, you're destroying the board, you're customizing your own version of the game as you go through it. There's also kind of like a choose-your-own-adventure style thing. You can come across an encounter, and it would ask you how you want to react. If you want to do option A, read this passage of the book. If you want to do option B, read this passage of the book. And based off what you discovered, different things would come out. There was so much fun, so much content in that game. It's not a cheap game, but at the same time, I felt like we got our money's worth out of it.
Oh my gosh,
in terms of gameplay.
We sure did. Oh, 100%.
And you can, in theory, play the last game over and over again. The final mission, it just is the new board that you can just use for forever. If you're one of the people who plays a Legacy game and then goes back and plays that last final state of the game over and over again, let me know, because I've never heard of anyone actually doing that.
Yeah.
That makes you feel better about like having an unplayable game. Like, well, you could still play it if you wanted to, but do you? Let me know. I need to know if there's other people that try that
actually
out.
Do that.
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to put Clank in this spot, but Clank Legacy was so much better than Clank, even though Clank is amazing. But now I can't necessarily replay Clank Legacy the way that.
We'll just replay Clank.
Yeah, we'll just replay Clank at that point. So that's my caveat.
My number 2 is Mystic Vale, and I played this for the first time this summer at our, we have like a little gaming mini thing convention that we call it. It's not a real convention.
It's a real convention.
Oh my gosh. We just get a bunch of people together, we rent out a cabin, and we just play games all weekend, and it's great and fantastic. And this was a game that I had played there, Mystic Vale. I like fell in love with this game immediately. So you have these clear cards, right? And they have 3 different spots on them. And what you're doing is you are drafting spots to slide into the card.
It's like a sleeve.
Yeah.
And you're actually building the card itself inside the sleeve.
Exactly, because it's all see-through. So if there's text on the top part and there's cards out there that have text on the top part, you cannot draft that card to this card because there has to be an available spot. And there's also a little push your luck aspect to it. So you keep on drawing your cards at the beginning of the game and to decide, or your round to decide if you're going or not. And there's these negative aspects to certain cards. And if you get a certain amount of that, it's washed. You like skip your turn. But there's all this, you're adding good stuff eventually. And so you kind of want to get that stuff out, even if it means risking not doing this. And I do like push your luck in games whatsoever. It's great and I enjoy it. This game is a game I've never bought an app before, and I bought the app to this game so I can continue to play it because it's great and I love it and it's so much fun.
Speaking of the push your luck aspect, I never push your luck in this game. Every time I do, I bust. Every time, without fail.
Yeah.
But then I just like give up trying. So I just stop pushing my luck. And then I lose every time.
Sure do.
Because you need to in order to get those bigger cards.
Yes.
I even played the app on your phone on the easy mode.
Yeah.
Got just trounced. Just can't push my luck. I'm not good at that. All right, so my number 2, this is the Lost Ruins of Arnak. This is another one of those games where the deck is very, very, very small. You start out with only 6 cards, and you basically have, you're going to draw maybe only add in just 5 or 6 cards over the course of the game. But when you use these kind of give you free actions, free resources, free abilities, but also they're kind of the way you move around the board. So there's various boats, cars, and airplanes that you can get from these cars, or from these cards, and that tells you where you can go, how far you can travel, where you can travel to on the board by using those. And then there's special cards that you can buy as the game goes on, and those cards give you additional special abilities that help you maybe draw cards, trash some of the bad cards that you're going to draw, give you new abilities, extra resources, all those kinds of things. But again, you're going to go through your deck so fast. You're going to see basically almost all your cards almost every round, especially if you have like a trashing mechanism built in, which I always like to. Basically in all deck building games, I like to do a very thin deck strategy.
Yes, you do.
It doesn't always work, but I always like trying it. And this is deck building is what kind of drives your actions, but it's not deck building is not the core of it. The core is exploring the board, moving up on these various tracks, exploring these different areas of the board. Deck building is just how you get your movement and your resources.
All right, guys, it has arrived. The number 1 is here, and guess what? It's our only crossover. That means it's excellent, right? That's exactly what that means. And our number 1 is Dominion.
This is the great granddaddy of all deck builders. There's other games that probably had deck building elements before Dominion, but let's be real, Dominion is one that put it on the map. It is just that classic, pure deck builder, just cards, and
with the base.
With the base set, you know, obviously there's tons of expansions that add new additional mechanisms and little boards and chits and all these different things. But Dominion is just so good. I never don't want to play Dominion.
Exactly.
The only problem is setting it up because there's just a whole lot of...
we have a lot of those expansions.
A ton of expansions. You got to choose cards from all over the place to kind of get to a varied setup every time.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'll just have Dominion nights where we'll just play 5-6 games back to back to back, and I never walk away from a Dominion night disappointed.
Never. This is also one of those games that just plays really well at the 2, 3, and 4 player count. Like, this is a great game that we can play with just ourselves, and it's also a great game that we can play with other people, which is probably another reason why we just enjoy it so much, is because it's great with that. And it's really, like, simple, right? It's so simple in the idea, but then it just keeps on growing and growing and growing. Funny story about this game, though. When we were first taught it, I thought I hated it. Did not have good teachers.
Teachers matter.
They really do. I remember,
thank the good teachers in your game group.
Like, I remember the person who taught it for me, like, doubled my score. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't.
And then brag, like,
yeah.
Ha, I beat you, like.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't, when you're teaching a game, that you shouldn't, like, that you should throw it. I don't think you should do that. But not explaining what you're doing and why you're doing it, especially when you're so familiar with the game, is a huge disservice to the people you're teaching the game to. And I just remember thinking, I hated this game. And look, it's number 1. So sometimes you really do need to give games another chance.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game where we don't throw games for our daughters even, you know, when we're teaching them a game. However, what I'll do is I'll maybe play an alternate strategy that I don't normally try.
Yeah,
or
try
something like that.
Different.
Or I'll explain every step of what I'm doing. Now, the reason I'm buying this silver card is because I want to up my amount of money that I have in my deck so I can buy better cards later, or whatever the case is.
The reason why I'm getting rid of this is because of blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Yeah, and I just did not understand a lot of the things in that first game, or why they were doing it, or when I couldn't do it. It was just, I was also a new gamer, but sometimes you just need to revisit games.
And also, this game has this really fun twisting point. You know, the first, let's say, 2/3 of the game, you're just buying all these special action cards, money cards, building them in your deck, so you have this really nice engine inside of your deck. But then there's this twisting point where it's like, now I want victory points.
Yes.
And then you just crank that engine on, and you are buying victory points every time because you have got your engine ready to go.
And then if you watch people who just keep buying victory cards, you're like, oh my gosh, the game's going to end soon. I need to buy victory cards. And it's just like really fun.
The whole table shifts at that point.
Yeah. So it's fun how it goes, to like how it progresses. It's like going up a hill, and then all of a sudden you push it down. It's like,
yeah.
Yeah, super fun.
All right, everybody, tell us what your favorite deck building games are, or pool building, or dice bag building, or whatever the thing is. Tell us what your favorite games are in that world. I know Aeon's End is a big one for a lot of people. We just simply haven't played it. I'm sure it would rank well for us. But,
as long as we have a good teacher.
I just don't want to see one of those comments is like, what, no love for ANZN? Like,
we don't know. We don't know.
We have, like, there's, like, you know, those, kinetic energy and potential energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have potential love for ANZN.
Yeah.
This just hasn't turned into kinetic love for ANZN.
Sure, we'll go with that. There's a game idea for you, Genius Games. Do something with that. Yeah, so everybody, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you can see our videos as they come out. Until then, you can find us on Facebook, we're Ryan Bethany Board Game Reviews. On Twitter, we're Ryan Bethany 1. And on Instagram, we are Ryan and Bethany.
You guys, thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.